everyone. Thanks for joining us here at Intellectual Chocolate, where we have intelligent conversations with brilliant Black minds. And I'm Rashida, host, your Intellectual Chocolate host, here with you today with Sharon McDougall. And she has a very inspiring story that she has come on here to share with us. And she is actually not just the first Black woman, but the first Black person to ever suit an astronaut. And not only did she suit an astronaut, the first Black person to suit an astronaut, she had the privilege of suiting the astronaut who was the first Black woman to go out into space. We all know her as Mae Jemison. And I want to welcome you to the show, Sharon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yes, yes. You have such an inspiring story. And I know that we're going to get into the nuts and bolts, and everybody wants to know, well, how was it suiting Mae Jemison? And we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, I want people to know a little bit about your background and just your early life and what led you to this career.
Of course. Well, I was born in a small town in Mississippi, Moss Point, Mississippi. What's up, my people?
Okay, you said that's Moss Point?
Moss Point, Mississippi.
Okay, okay.
And I grew up there all the way through to my senior year, except for 1 year I spent in Portland, Oregon in the 6th grade. Okay. But that was my home.
Okay.
When my father passed away when I was 4, so I really didn't get to know him. I only have one memory of him holding on to his pant leg after he came back home from fishing. But I can't remember his face. I just remember standing on his shoe and holding his pant leg.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I didn't have my father throughout my childhood.
Okay.
And so everything's going good. And, you know, I loved my mom with everything because that's the only parent I knew.
Right.
So at 7, about 2 blocks from our house, my mother is killed in an car accident.
Oh, wow.
By a driver under the influence.
Okay.
So this was a huge paradigm shift in my life.
Okay.
It really messed me up, as you can imagine. I come from a family of 12 children.
Oh.
I'm number 9.
Okay. So you're one of the babies.
Yeah, so my oldest sister was only 23 and she was already married with her own family. She had 5 kids at that time already.
Okay.
So this happens right down the street from our home, so I'm devastated, of course. And one memory I have, which may have subconsciously helped me get focused and really, even though I already loved school and was already doing well in the 2nd grade, right after this accident, you know how the older ladies are standing around at the fence and talk and stuff. I heard one of our neighbor ladies talking to another one and said, none of those kids are going to amount to nothing, specifically the girls. None of those girls are going to amount to nothing. They're going to get pregnant. They're going to be, because we didn't have our parents.
Wow.
So she put that on us. And I think without me even knowing, that may have been in the back of my head the whole time, making me want to really persevere and really do good to show. I'm going to show her, you know.
Right. Not fulfill.
I really love school because I had the best teachers, mind you. But I was thinking about that after I spoke to you before. I was like, I think that kind of gave me that extra little oomph, and I didn't even realize it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I became very withdrawn. No one took me aside because everybody was devastated. No one took me aside as a 7-year-old to tell me that my mom had been killed. I'm thinking all these people coming to our house with food and partying and stuff. I'm thinking it's just a party. But it was because, you know, they're bringing food because my mom had gotten killed.
Really?
But no adults had sat me down and said, hey, mom's gone to heaven, she got killed or nothing. So I don't even know what's going on until the day of the funeral. All the kids are on the front row. And when I get up there, I kind of see somebody that resembles my mom laying in this, I didn't even know what a casket was, laying in this bed. And I look and I realize it's her. And I immediately just cover my face the whole funeral. And I was just through. I didn't even talk for a while. Girl, look, let me compose. Okay, if it wasn't for...
I just want to say, you didn't share those details.
I know. I just, when you start talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew you lost your parents young, which had an inspiration on your life, but I didn't, or kind of guided your life. We're going to say guided choices that you made, but wow, I didn't realize that you hadn't even been informed of what...
Exactly.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not blaming my older siblings or nothing because, like I said, they were hurt too. They lost their mom too, so they weren't even thinking about, we need to sit the little ones down and tell them.
It probably didn't even dawn on them. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I'm I'm living with my oldest sister and her 5 kids, all of which are younger than me.
Okay.
With my mom, I had never done any chores yet because I got all these other brothers and sisters. So I'm just like her little favorite daughter that goes to the store with her and, you know, everybody, oh, she looks just like you and all this stuff, you know. And so all of a sudden I'm the oldest kid in the house. because all of my other brothers and sisters were split up and went to different older brothers and sisters.
Okay, so the dynamics really changed.
Yes. So because of course my sister couldn't have everybody in the house with her. You know.
Right.
So I'm left there, and one of my younger sisters, who eventually left in the 7th grade and went to Portland as well, where I had my other older siblings lived in Portland, Oregon. So I'm pretty much the only one doing everything.
Okay.
All of a sudden I had to learn how to cook at 7. Never did nothing, never did any of these chores. I'm up to the stove on a chair with a hot top trying to fry chicken, which I don't know. I just all of a sudden had to do all this stuff. Washing clothes. We didn't have a dryer. You wash clothes, go out to hang them with the chair, scoot it over, pan, clothesline. It wasn't fancy. I was hand washing some things, and it was hard. I kind of felt like a Cinderella story.
Okay.
Hoping somebody, but I wanted to do my best and do everything because I was scared that she may send me away.
Right, and you had already been traumatized with the death of your mom and dad, yes.
And she never said that, but I
That's
wasn't
just
getting
her own
same
personal fear.
Yes, I was just scared.
Right.
And look, my voice truly just talking about it. But and I wasn't getting the same love and hug and and all the stuff I got from my mom, because this is my sister, and she got all her little kids, so she's thinking she's a big girl. She got it. She showed me something one time, and I had to do it. Okay, so I think that helped build my character.
Right.
It made me a stronger woman because I had to do all this stuff at such an early age. I didn't get beat or anything like that. I just want to make sure that's out there. But it was just still hard mentally because I would always be scared if I didn't do something perfect. If I didn't make the bed perfect, if I didn't do things perfect, that I might get sent away.
Right.
So I always did try to do my best at everything. Now, my teachers that came into play in the 2nd grade, my teacher did notice, and I'm sure there are still some good teachers, but this is when teachers really cared about the students. I'm not saying they don't now, but it was more so back then, they were more like moms. Mrs. Jennings, my 2nd grade teacher, she noticed that I was very withdrawn, and everybody, it's a small town, everybody knew my mom was killed in this car accident. And she noticed it, and she actually she wanted to adopt me, but my sister wanted to keep us there.
Right.
Because she thought I needed some attention, and she knew I was a smart little girl, and she didn't want me to, change and become a statistic,
Right. She was being that community. She was being that village.
Yes. Thank you. She gave me so much attention. If it wasn't for her, I really don't think I would have pulled through, and I may have gone in another direction. But she gave me that love and affection and attention I needed. Mm-hmm. And I lived to go to school. I wish school would have been 7 days a week, because that was my refuge away from being I felt like I was a slave.
Right.
To be honest, because I had to do everything.
Gotcha.
And so that went on. I graduated high school because I could stay on that just the whole hour.
Right. No, we want people to hear the story.
So I graduated high school, and throughout high school I did well. I mean, I got great grades and the praise from the teachers. And then that was the only other teacher that really, really affected me was when I got to high school, Mrs. Shirley Owens. She's passed on already. She just made me feel like I was invincible, that I could do anything.
Okay.
And I thought about college because I love school so much. And she made me really want to go to college and really get an education. Because I really didn't know what I was going to do, because we didn't have money to go to college. The teachers back then, I guess they didn't really know how to let you know how to put in for grants and things like that.
Right, there wasn't the support there.
Yeah, they didn't really know what to do. Like I say, small town, just before internet and everything. So I was like, well, maybe after I flew to Portland, Oregon for the 6th grade, I just stayed up there in the 6th grade and I came back home. I figured maybe I could be a flight attendant, because I could get to just fly away and get away from everything, Because I saw the ladies on the plane and they were pretty and they were helping everybody. And then my next thought was, well, I pretty much raised all my nieces and nephews, so maybe I'll be in a child care or kindergarten teacher or something of that effect. But those are the two choices I had pretty much in my head.
Right.
So I finally found out how to put in for a grant, and I did that, but I hadn't heard back from them. And it was, let's see, that summer, I still hadn't heard anything. But anyway, it didn't even matter, because I want to say around maybe November of my senior year in high school, Air Force recruiter came to our high school and spoke to us. I had never thought about the military at all.
Okay.
And he came and spoke to us, and the light clicked on. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. That's my ticket out of here. Because he's like, we'll pay for your college. You can get a great job. You can travel. We pay for everything. And I'm like, what? That's what I'm doing. That changed. Everything else went out the window. So as soon as I turned 18 that February, I went down and signed up. And I wanted to go in right then. I asked her, because I turned 18, so I was grown. Asked the principal. She didn't want to set a precedence. She said, if I do it for you, other people may want to do it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I had the grades already, so that wasn't a problem.
Right.
So she said, no, let me hold off. And I'm glad she did, because the job they had offered for me, if I came in right then, they were, at the time, that's when Reagan, I don't know how old you are, but that's when Reagan, we had air traffic controllers, and they were all on strike.
Okay.
And they were trying to get them in the military.
Oh, okay. So everybody was being filtered into that position.
Yes. Yes. So that would have been my job if I'd gone in right then. So thank goodness I didn't. So the next job they came up to fit, because, you know, when you test for the military, they put you in categories. Okay, you'll be good at this job and what's not.
Right.
Next thing was aerospace physiology. It's like, ooh, that sounds fancy.
Okay. Okay.
And that was my career. So that's how that happened.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't like I chose it. The military chose what job I had.
Oh, you know what? That's so interesting. And I just want to welcome the viewers who may have just tuned in, who may be wondering, you know, what we're talking about. So I'm Rashida, host of Intellectual Chocolate, and I have with me here today Sharon McDougall. She is a rare woman. She is somewhat of a hidden figure. She was the first Black, regardless of gender, to suit an astronaut that went into outer space. But not only did she suit astronauts, she had the privilege of suiting the first Black woman, Mae Jemison, who went into outer space. And you're here with Intellectual Chocolate. I'm Rashida, your host, and we just invite you to subscribe to the Intellectual Chocolate platform so that you can stay informed and abreast of everything that's going on here, because we have intelligent conversations with brilliant Black minds on this platform. And if you are in need of financial literacy and you want to learn how to grow your business today, we encourage you to check out the blackbusinessschool.com. So Sharon, so
Yeah.
you are in the military. You have this tragedy that happens early on in your life. You lose both of your parents. Unfortunately, you move in with your sister.
Yes.
And so after you live with your sister, you go throughout your school years. You're having some challenges with the whole idea of going to college because of finances. And so then a recruiter comes from the Air Force, and now you've decided that's the career for you. You end up in the Air Force. So once you're in the Air Force, what is your job? What do you do?
I am an aerospace physiology specialist.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is?
The main career job, the aerospace physiology specialist, is we've operated and we're inside observers for the altitude chambers, the hypobaric chambers, and the dive chambers, the hyperbaric chambers.
Okay.
And we're in the medical side of the house.
Okay.
So you're familiar with the chambers, right?
No.
No. Okay. So the altitude chamber, this is where the crew members go inside so they can get used to the effects on their body when they're flying at high altitudes.
Gotcha.
So they would go inside. You've probably seen it on some of the movies where they'd have their mask on, sit inside this big box.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't outside of it operating it. So we're like the ones taking it to altitude on the outside.
Okay.
Some of us will go inside. So the guys will go up to a certain level, say 25, 30,000 feet. We'll have them take their mask off and perform simple tasks like the little toy where you put the different shapes inside the holes.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your mask off for so long, and it's so to let them feel the effects of hypoxia. So without their oxygen, you wouldn't be able to operate your aircraft because you can't even, they'll start off doing, oh, this is easy. All of a sudden they've had their mask off for a few minutes. Now they're like struggling, like can't figure out which hole to put it in. So letting them see you need to always have your gear on. We're training you for a reason. It's not for play.
Right.
It really helps you.
And they were, and these servicemen and women were flying at high altitudes for what purpose?
And the SR-71, which was the spy plane, as well as the U-2, SR-71 would go up to Mach 3.
Okay.
So they would also go into the anti-gravity chamber where they would spin.
Okay.
To see how the anti-gravity affects their bodies too. So they would be flying at such high and such fast altitudes that they needed these suits in case they needed to bail out, of course.
Right.
And to protect them inside if they were to lose pressurization.
So it was a pretty serious job.
Very serious, very serious. And we took care of the suits, the helmets, all of their gear. They had their life preserver units, their oxygen equipment, their survival kits, their parachutes. We would also go load the planes after we've trained them in the chamber to let them see the effects of not having their oxygen on their bodies. And then if they did get something was to happen, and they would get, we'd have to go to the hyperbaric chamber, the dive chamber, and take them down in that. And also hyperbaric chamber was used, most people know the hyperbaric chamber from Michael Jackson sleeping in it. That's
Oh, yes.
Hyperbaric chamber. They get 100% oxygen to try to stay healthy and young and beautiful. Well, it helped. We also helped people that had cancer. People that, one man came in with a hole in his cheek. Cancer has eaten through his cheek.
Wow.
So he would come in and get doses. We take them down in the chamber, down to a certain level, below sea level, and let him sit there for a while till the oxygen, 100% oxygen on his face. And it would be like a bubble around his face.
So at this point, you go directly into the military after high school. You have not gone to college, so you got your training in the military.
In the military. And I went into the military to go to college because they were going to pay for it. But I had this amazing job where every 2 months, I would be going to a different country.
Okay.
2 months in America, 2 months I go to Greece, 2 months I will go to Japan, 2 months I will go to Korea, 2 months I go to England.
So all the places that we may have had bases throughout the world.
Yeah, only where the planes went, the reconnaissance aircraft went. We went to support them, where they had to go fly their missions, because we'd have to suit them up and strap them into the aircraft.
So how long were you in this career? How long did you do this?
7 years and 5 months. I went ahead and took an early out because a term is 4 years in the Air Force. And so they offer early outs because they want to get some of the senior people out so they can bring in new people, and it's cheaper, you know, they have to pay them less. So they would offer it every now and then, and you can take it or not. And my plan was to do 20 years, but things started changing in my unit. So I was like, I wasn't feeling the same way about it. So it wasn't the Air Force overall, it's just my unit.
Okay.
So if I'd stayed another term, which would have been 12 years, I would have forced myself to stay even if I was unhappy. And I didn't want to put myself in that predicament. So I went ahead and took the early out after my 2 terms.
Okay.
And it was a struggle, girl. It was a struggle.
It was a struggle when you decided to leave. You ran into some
once I got out, I became a civilian because all I've known my whole adult life is military.
Right.
So coming into the civilian world with this pressure suit experience, it's like, where am I going to work? I wasn't thinking about, I got good soft skills and all the stuff you hear now.
Right.
All I know how to do is work on suits and suit up crew members and strap them into airplanes. Wow. And work with the hyperbaric and hypobaric chambers, which I could have got, but that part is so boring.
Right.
I did not want to do that the rest of my life. But the suit part.
And you know, sometimes I think people don't realize the challenges that individuals have when they leave the military and become civilians. I actually have a family friend who was, I want to say he put 15 years in and he was intending to do his 20. Yeah. And he had to leave early. It wasn't of his choice. The military actually had him retire. But having tremendous challenges in terms of finding work as a civilian because of the skill set and the training that in your job that you have while you're in the military, it's not always transferable to a career.
That's it. That's it. And they still have it now. It's even worse now for the soldiers who have been to war, you know, and come back with PTSD. I was fortunate I got out right before Desert Storm. Okay. And they actually sent me a letter to ask me to come back in because they needed more people because that was going on. And I was like, I'm not coming back in during a war.
No, thank you.
No, but I did, after about 2 months of not finding a job, I really considered going back in even before they sent that letter because I was having such a hard time. I did reserve duty for about 2 weeks and that wasn't for me.
Okay.
I like the active duty. Reserve duty I did not like. So I'm sleeping, I'm struggling, like I said. I'm sleeping on a friend's futon. I'm working, nobody wants to give you a 40-hour-a-week job because they'd have to give you benefits. So I'm working at a warehouse in the daytime, putting price tags on clothing. And then at night, I was cleaning office buildings. So they give you 7 hours, 7.5 hours of work. So I had no time for myself, not even time to look for a real job because these 2 jobs had me just stressed. And I was giving my girlfriend a little change, but I couldn't afford to have my own place. My car was already paid for because I had, paid that off in the military. And I had lived on base my whole time, so I had never paid rent. I had never paid light bills, done any of this, normal activities that an adult would do.
Right.
And so I was feeling I might have been a little depressed. I was feeling some kind of way. It's like, why don't they know how awesome I am? Why don't they want to hire me? Right. So eventually, 6 months after I got out, I get this angelic call from one of the guys that was in the Air Force with me many years. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. Like this was before cell phones and internet and, easy way to find people. Somehow he tracked me down and he said, Sharon, they have an immediate opening. And I said, that ain't nothing but my parents and God right there. Immediate opening, call them. I was like, but I don't know him, and I don't know him.
Okay, so before you tell us about the immediate opening, I just want to welcome those who may have just tuned in. You're here with Sharon McDougall, and she is not only the first Black woman, but the first Black person to ever suit an astronaut that had gone into space. And she had the privilege of suiting the first Black woman, Mae Jemison, who had gone out into space. And so she's here with us today, sharing her story. It's a very inspirational story. So I definitely advise you to catch the rest of it. If you didn't catch it from the beginning, you're gonna have to, this is definitely gonna have to be a replay. I want you to like and subscribe and give us some hearts and share this video as well, because so many people in our community just need to be inspired by, you know, these particular stories. And I'm Rashida, Intellectual Chocolate host, and here we have intelligent conversations with brilliant Black minds. And I want you to subscribe at intellectualchocolate.com in order to stay informed about what's going on with the podcast. If you would like some financial literacy and to learn how to grow your business today, we definitely encourage you and invite you to go to theblackbusinessschool.com to get all of the information and resources that are there to help. So you were saying, Sharon,
yes,
that you got this call and they said there's an immediate opening. And where was this immediate opening?
In Houston, Texas, at Boeing Aerospace Operations in the Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment Department. What I've done my whole grown-up life.
Wow. So everything that you had done in the military has prepped you for this. You left the military, wasn't thinking, okay, what I need to do is go into aerospace. That's not what you were thinking. You were
no, I just need to get a job.
Barely making ends meet, and then you get this call.
Oh my goodness, another paradigm shift. My mom passing, getting killed was the first paradigm shift. This was the second paradigm shift.
Okay.
Ray Villalobos, he was like my best girlfriend in the Air Force. Even though he was a guy, he wasn't gay or anything. He's just like my best friend. I was told he's my girlfriend.
Right.
He tracked me down. Thank goodness we had a great relationship when he was there, but we lost touch, like I said, after he got out before I did, got out the military. And he tracked me down and told me that they had that opening. He's like, shut up, just call. Because I was like, I don't know who it is. I'm trying to get more information. He's like, just call him because it's immediate. I called. I interviewed over the phone. Do you know they did not have me fly down to Houston to interview? They didn't have me do a second interview or any of this.
Okay.
Interviewed over the phone, and they said, Miss Caples, that's my maiden name. Whenever you're ready to come down. Girl, I was like, what? That's it? It's just that easy? I've been struggling.
All this time? Right.
But what's happening is one of the other suit techs moved on. He went and worked for NASA directly. You know, we were contractors.
Okay.
So he moved, for Lockheed. He went to work for Lockheed.
Okay.
And they, at the time, they were the ones that strapped in the crew members, and we suited them up and did everything else.
Okay.
So he moved up, and so they left an opening.
Okay.
And then I interviewed on the phone, and I moved here that following week. I put everything, all my little belongings. I didn't have furniture and stuff because, you know, I didn't have my place. I had all my clothes, and I put everything in my car, and I drove out to Texas. And I've been here ever since. Girl, that was such a blessing. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
So I started at the bottom, even though I had almost 8 years experience. I already knew the job. Just had to learn their procedure, how they do it, and what they do things a little different. But it was still the same job.
Right.
Because the astronauts, the suits that they wear, they got them from the Air Force. Wasn't the other way around. A lot of people thought the astronauts had them first. Like, no, Air Force had them, and they saw what was being worn there, so they came and used the same thing.
And they were probably flying at higher altitudes with the Mach 3 and all of that, and at fast speeds more frequently than NASA would have been. Gotcha.
They flew every day in the Air Force. Every day they're flying.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Whereas in the space shuttle, once every 3 or 4 months, maybe, they were going up. And so but the suits in the Air Force were gold. So if some of the old astronaut pictures you'll see, they were gold colored, and then they changed to orange later. So I moved to Texas, got here quick as I could. And of course I didn't have to pay for anything because the military moves you back to wherever you came from or closer.
Okay.
I came from Mississippi, so they didn't have to pay as much because I moved to Texas. So they gave my per diem to move, and I got here, got me a little place, got my job, making $10 an hour. So y'all, NASA don't be paying no big money like y'all think. I got started off at $10 an hour at the very bottom of the totem pole.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say something. I was the first Black woman in my department. I don't know if they had any Black women before me in any other departments. I don't want to on nobody's toes. And in the Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment Department, I was the first.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So,
Thanks for the clarification.
you have the white suits that they do those spacewalks in, the EMU. That's
Okay.
the department. And then we had the launch entry suits, that the orange suits you see behind me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in my department. So I'm not sure about the other department when
But
they
in
had.
your department for launch and
Yes.
re-entry.
Yes, that's what we did.
But not just first
First
Black
Black person, period.
first Black person in general. Gotcha.
Yes. So
And-
when I arrived,
Okay.
it was another lady, and I want to say it was about 4 guys. So the only minorities were myself and the gentleman that called me. He was from Peru.
Okay.
That was in the Air Force with me. So it's a smaller unit now, and we're actually at NASA in Building 7 working at that time, but we eventually got a building off-site where we had more space.
Gotcha.
And so the suits, it was like a piece of cake. So I came in, and only a couple of them there were from the Air Force, Ray and Bill, I think, if I remember. Anyway, look, you started just talking like I'm just talking to you. So I get there, and I'm just like doing it like it's nothing. They was like, okay. And like I said, they checked off their boxes too. They got a Black, a woman,
Okay.
and already experienced. So, it was a give and take. It wasn't like they just saved me. I saved them a little bit too.
Gotcha. Right.
And that I was good with it. So I started off at the bottom, but once I found out what the rating was, I raised a little fan and I got bumped up. I'm like,
Okay.
for this. And then maybe they just wanted to see what you could do before they moved you up.
Right.
But I said, and that's what I felt like when they said $10, they could have said $6. I would have still moved to Texas. I was ready to leave and get
Because it was a great career opportunity.
Exactly. And I said, once they see what a hard worker I am, I'll get mine. I'll move up. So that's how I felt. So I was there. I got there in 1990, July of 1990. 1991, I was on my first mission. STS-37 was my very first mission, assigned to an astronaut to suit her up and make sure everything's right. And so what happens is we get assigned to a crew. The suit technicians get assigned to an astronaut crew once they're put out. It's about a year ahead of time because they have to do all their training, and they do a lot of training events where we have to suit them up. And they can suit themselves up. It's a little more difficult, and it's hard on our equipment because they bang it up a lot. So we're there while they're on Earth to help suit them up and get everything taken care of because we have to repair any damage. And as you can imagine, all that equipment is very expensive.
I can imagine that it's important for those things to be repaired if you're having people out of space and they're in a different element than they are when they're on Earth.
Exactly. And so we do have some of the suits that were specifically for training that would never go into space. But just like you wear your good pair of shoes, you want to break them in and get a feel for it. So most of the time, when possible, they would train in their actual flight suits that they were going to actually wear on launch day and wear into space. But like I said, we try to use the training stuff so they don't damage it. So we suit them up. They come in once they get assigned. They come into our department, and the suit is the orange cover isn't on the suit at the time. It's just the underlayer part.
Okay.
And now they wear liquid cooling garments, which are, at the time when I first got there, they didn't have liquid cooling garments. It was just like long johns.
Okay.
And we would hook up a ventilator to just kind of blow cool, like ambient room temperature air on them inside the suits, try to keep them cool. So we advanced a lot when we got the liquid cooling garments, which was an idea that was taken from race car drivers.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because they get so hot in their little small cockpit going at the high speeds. They had these long johns that have tubes sewn through them, and they have ice cold water that would go through. So it's right against your body.
You were also sharing with me that they're in those suits for quite a while before they actually even launch.
Yes.
So I'm imagining being able to keep their temperatures at a normal level is
very important
for their safety and their health.
Yes, right. Even the van ride from the operations and checkout building where they got suited up. When you see them walk out waving on those little video clips, they just left our room where we just suited them up and tested everything.
Okay.
So they walk down, get into the silver van called the Astro van. And even then, the coolers are sitting inside that van just for the ride out to the show. So keeping cool the whole time.
Right.
So they have, when they walk into the room, well, I got to go back to the fit checks. The fit checks, once they get assigned, they have to get fit checked. We just have basic measurements like their height, weight, and things like that. So they come in to see us, and we do anthropometric measurements. So we get very detailed on what their measurements are. And then we'll say, okay, they wear a medium long or extra large or whatever.
Right.
We'll have several suits in the room. Suit them up. They come in, they already put their diaper on, so we have to help put their diaper on.
So that's not a myth.
Yeah, exactly.
Wearing diapers is not a myth.
It's not a myth, and it's their choice. Most of them choose to because, like I told you, they lay out on their backs almost 4 hours before they launch.
That's a long time.
And you can't get up.
I have a whole, I already respect someone who's willing to travel into outer space, period.
Yes.
But all of the grueling details and all of the things that you have to train for,
Yeah.
so to make sure that conditions are perfect, I just have a whole new level of respect for
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And a lot of people don't know, they just see the glamorous side. They don't see all the other work that goes into it.
Right. And so for those of you who are just tuning in, I am here with Sharon McDougall. She had the privilege of suiting the first Black woman astronaut to go in outer space, Mae Jemison. She was actually in her unit, the first Black to ever suit an astronaut. And she's here telling us her story. And we're about to get into this, how she interacted with Mae Jemison. But before doing so, we just want to welcome you and thank you for being here at Intellectual Chocolate, where we have intelligent conversations with brilliant Black minds. And we want to invite you to subscribe to intellectualchocolate.com so you can stay informed as to what's going on this podcast. I'm Rashida. I'm your host here on Intellectual Chocolate. And I also want to invite you to go to the blackbusinessschool.com for financial literacy and to learn how to grow your business today. So you have all of this experience. You're now with working for Boeing, suiting astronauts who are doing the entry and re-entry, and Mae Jemison comes up. It's her turn to go into outer space. First Black woman to ever do so. First Black astronaut, brilliant woman in her own right. And you have the privilege of suiting her first. Please tell us how this takes place.
That was just so amazing. I'm going to walk you through when the crews get assigned, my supervisor would go out. We had a large board out in the lab, plexiglass, and they'd write on it with a dry marker, and they put all the astronaut names up there. And I had already caught wind that the first sister was going to space. I already kind of heard whispers.
Okay.
But I didn't know for sure, because, you don't never know what's going to happen when they send it down. They could change to another year or something. So my supervisor comes out, we're all waiting to see what he writes on the board, all gathered around, and he wrote the crew up there, STS-47, and he started putting the names. And I saw Mae Jemison. I was like, oh my goodness. I was just giving him, he wasn't away from the board 2 seconds. I took the marker and wrote my name up there. Right by her name. Mind you, I've only been there a year and a half. So I'm still brand spanking new.
So you assigned yourself. You weren't assigned.
I assigned myself. I was like, I know anybody else could have suited her, but I wanted to make sure she was taken care of.
Right.
Sister. I wanted to make sure she got the best.
Right. And I love that. I love that about our community. I have to say that. I love that. Take care of each other. Look out for each other.
Yeah, she had no idea who I was or anything. So, I was like, but I know who she is.
Right. And she may not have necessarily had a preference other than wanting someone.
Exactly. She probably didn't even know it was a Black woman performing that job, Yeah. So they wrote her name up, and I put my name right next to it, and everybody just kind of looked, and I kind of looked around like daring somebody to say something, like, y'all know. Y'all know who's her. So I got that, and I was just so excited. Like it was my family, my real family going to space. I was like, the first Black woman, oh my God. And so he assigned the other technicians. And also on this mission was the first married couple and the first Japanese astronaut too. So
okay.
So she comes in for her fit check. And she was like little tiny waves and then curves.
Okay.
And suits were still made for a man. We didn't have suits made for women yet. So they were just straight up and down. So I got the sister with all the swerves and curves. So we had to work it out. I had to put her in a larger suit because of her hips and her body.
Okay.
Not because she was tiny up top, little bitty waist and everything, but to accommodate. And then you have the diaper on and the liquid cool, you got all this extra stuff. So she got in, I measure her, suit her up. We get her size. Now the suit has like the corset lacing, like shoelaces on the arms and the waist, down the back for the girth and on the legs. So you put them in a generic size and then you adjust it to them.
Okay.
Adjust them. So I think Mae was in an extra large long because I had to have room for her to fit. And the zipper went from the back by their neck all the way around up until the front, until the crotch.
Okay.
So once I suited up, zip it up, and you know, we have to get real personal with them. So I had to put my hands all down into the suit and straighten everything out because it's like a big old baggy material type thing. So it's not smooth, you know, so you have to straighten everything out and then before you zip them up, make sure everything feels okay.
It's like when you're dressing your kids when they're younger.
Exactly. And that's why I told them, I was like, we're like their moms. That's why I told somebody I kind of went in child care because I had to take care of the astronauts.
Right.
We have everything laid out on the floor. The helmet and the communications cap is on the table because when they sit in, I always tell the kids they're not superheroes. They put it one leg at a time, just like everybody else, and suited her up. I put her communications cap on, her helmet, then her gloves, and then I hook her up to the tester. And I think I didn't have a picture with me when I talked to you last time. But anyway, there's plenty of pictures out there on the internet. Anybody want to look, it's plenty of them out there. So I stood her up, and like I said, when she walked in, and it's like we saw each other, and it was just like, yes.
Okay, so you guys had pretty good chemistry together.
Right off the bat. And she was for her to be so brilliant, this woman speaks, 7 languages, a doctor, a scientist, I mean, just do everything. Girl, she'd be standing there talking all high tech with someone, and then turn right back around in that same breath, girl, and we just be talking like we're the sister, you know, she didn't put on any airs at all. She was so awesome.
So just a very down-to-earth, brilliant Black woman.
Yes. And like I said, just, even when she wrote little letters out, she'd be like, yo, what's up, y'all? You know, she wasn't trying to be, this is Dr. Jemison. She wasn't stuffy or anything like that. So I just want y'all to know that too.
Right.
But you can see her speaking. And when you see her speak, you can probably tell she's very personable. I'm so glad I had the opportunity. But so launch day, it's like electricity in the air. Because I'm like, this is really it. We practiced 5 million times already, you know, for like a year for this moment. And anytime she suited up, anytime she did any training with the suit, I had to be there. So like I said, we got to know each other pretty good. The day of her photo shoot for the crew, you know, they do a crew picture with all the astronauts standing there in their orange suits. And she, you know, she had a little, teeny weeny afro. So she was natural before it was popular.
Right, right.
And so she was like, I need something. So she, I was like, come on, go in the bathroom. And I curled a little piece, bitty little bang. So if you look at her crew picture, her official picture, it's a little bitty piece.
So you guys had a pretty good bond with each other.
Yeah. She was so naturally beautiful, though. She didn't need that. But she didn't, you know, she just wanted something extra. Right. So anytime I look at any pictures of me in that suit, y'all think about me because I was in the background somewhere lurking, waiting to take the suit off or whatever, you know.
So I know you said their entry and re-entry. So when they return, you're helping her out of her suit as well?
Exactly. Now, the reason they wear these suits is if they were to lose cabin pressure in the space shuttle, the suit would automatically pressurize to keep them at a safe altitude at about 30,000 feet inside of it until they got down to a low enough altitude, if possible, and then they could bail out. Because of course, they're not going to bail out at a high speed and all that. So, and then it's orange because it's easily seen. It's a universal help color, easily seen if they were to bail out.
Gotcha.
In water, which is usually blue, and then on land, green or shrubbery, you still see orange. It would stand out.
So something that's going to stand out. Gotcha.
Yes. And so they were launch day. She walks in, and once again, it's always like we never seen each other.
Right. Such an exciting day, right?
Yeah, it's a real day.
You guys have been training for it.
Yes.
This is her first time out of space, so I can imagine that it's just
oh my goodness,
a lot of excitement. I can imagine.
And I started off as Sharon Caples when I first met her. I got married that July before she's launched in September. Okay. So now my name tag changed and everything. I'm Sharon McDougal now, so we got a chuckle out of that. She came into the room with her underwear and everything on. This is before liquid cooling garments, of course, so it was a little harsher back then. And then it was a partial pressure suit, whereas it went to become a full pressure suit. The partial pressure suit actually squeezed against their body when it pressurized. And then it had the anti-gravity suit built into it that they wore around their waist, and it goes down into the thighs. So that would be used on the way back from space. Okay. The Earth's atmosphere, they pressurize it, and it will keep the fluids from settling down to their lower extremities. Okay. So keep the blood and everything flowing so they don't pass out or get too woozy and everything.
Gotcha.
And that was their choice because they would have to manually pressurize that themselves.
Gotcha.
Yes. So she launched on launch morning, suited them up. And so what happened on launch morning, they go into the kitchen, into the dining room of the ONC building, and they'd have breakfast. And like I said, if you followed any space shuttle programs you've seen, they always go in there and they pan the camera while they're sitting at the table with the breakfast, and they got a cake with the crew patch on and things. And they eat a breakfast first. Then they go and put on their underwear and everything, and they come back and they come into the room where we are, into the suit room. And we have everything already laid out ready for them. So she comes in, she suits up, and I have to test her to make sure everything's good. You know, her oxygen is gonna flow good into her helmet. Her suit pressurizes when it's supposed to, and all the readings are perfect. So, and when they get out to the shuttle also and get strapped in, they do get tested again to make sure nothing happened from the ride.
Right.
Like they didn't puncture anything or anything. We have spare equipment in case something happens.
Gotcha.
So they suit up and everything, and so you kind of hang out in the suit room for a little while, taking pictures and things before they walk out, and they get in. They have a certain lineup they do. May was a mission specialist.
Okay.
And you have the commander, pilot, and then you have mission specialist. And so she suited up, and we do one final check before she walks out, and we gave each other a big smile and a big hug. And I was like, Godspeed. You know, we always say that, Godspeed. And they walk out. We go down before they walk out, so we can be at the doorway down there when they walk out and wave at them and stuff when they come out. And they go and get into the elevator and come down. And they get onto the Astra van. They go out to the shuttle. When they walk out, they don't have their helmet and their communication cap and gloves on. That's taken out to the shuttle ahead of time. And let's see, the ride isn't that far. I want to say maybe 10 miles so from the ONC to the space shuttle.
Okay.
And we sit about, I'm trying to remember, it's been so long. I think it was about 2 miles out away from them with the van. And so after the van drops them off, they come back to where we're sitting, where the media sat. That's where we sat.
Okay.
So if something happened where the man had to go get them and bring them back, we were right there. So they ride out and they go out, and they go up to the 195-foot level to the door of the shuttle, and they go inside, and it's called the white room, right before they walk into the shuttle, the little area where they put their harness assembly on.
Okay.
So they walk up there, and they put on their harness assembly. The harness assembly has their emergency oxygen bottles, their emergency water packs on it, and so they put that on. And the parachute is already lying in the seat. I'm trying to remember it in my head. The parachute's already lying in the seat inside the shuttle. So they're not putting that on outside the shuttle. They go and lie down on that. And they put on their communications cap and their helmet in the white room. And then they go inside and they get into, remember the shuttle's inverted.
Right.
They're gonna be lying on their back. So they get inside, and like I said, they lay on their backs about 3.5 hours. Once they get strapped in, that's why they have to wear that diaper, because you think about it, they've had breakfast and they've done all this stuff.
Right.
And just the nerves alone.
Yes.
So they go inside and they get strapped in. They lay on top of the parachute, which is already in the seat. And you know, it's very tight quarters. It's very tight. It's like they're right by each other. And then they got all this bulky gear on. That's not helping. And so they lie down, they get strapped in the communications, strap in their oxygen, all the check, recheck. And then.
And are you there doing all of this, or is there another?
That's Lockheed did it then.
Oh, Lockheed. Okay, so
he moved
okay.
on. Yeah.
So it moved. Okay, so you suited them, and then once you guys suited them, another crew
Lockheed
came in and took care of actually strapping them in and preparing them for their voyage.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes out into space. Before I say that, I just have to let everyone know who may have just tuned in that I'm talking to Sharon McDougall. She is the first Black person, and she just happens to be a woman who suited the first Black female astronaut who went into outer space, Mae Jemison. And we're here sharing her story and all of the details. And from the details, you can tell that this woman knows what she was doing and that she actually suited astronaut. And so, and I'm here. I'm your host with Intellectual Chocolate, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our platform at intellectualchocolate.com, because here we have intelligent conversations with brilliant Black minds. And also, if you are in need of financial literacy, or if you want to learn how to grow your business today, we invite you to go to theblackbusinessschool.com. So, Sharon.
Yes.
She goes to her voyage, and then she returns. When she returns, you're there to meet her?
Yes.
And so
go ahead.
I just wanted to know what the experience was like for her.
Before I do that though, okay, once they got strapped in, like I told you, they lay out there about 3.5 to 4 hours doing all their checks, rechecks before they blast off. They're going 17,500 miles per hour. So you can imagine all the shaking and everything. So that diaper probably got used right then. And it only takes them.
So I can imagine there's training for that too. There's a simulation that goes on to prepare them for that, because that's fast.
Yes, so we have a motion-based simulator that was in Building 5. And then they had just the regular crew compartment trainers that didn't move. But the ones in Building 5, I actually got to suit up and test it out. It feels like whatever you do, you feel it. When I crashed into Florida, when I was doing it, trying to land it. So they practice it actually moving.
Wow.
And the pilot and commander, they actually suit up and fly an actual airplane to simulate landing the shuttle. So they practice that part because they're the ones that have to do that. So anyway, they go up 17,500 miles per hour. It only takes them about 8 minutes to get into space. That quick. After laying there all that time, boom, they're done. They're up there. They're floating. As soon as they get into space, they take all that equipment off and store it. So they're in their shorts and t-shirt or whatever they want to wear. The whole time they're up, usually 7 to 10 days, they're up in space doing experiments or whatever their mission was. And so when it's time to come back home, they also practice on Earth. They practice the buddy system, helping each other get in the suit. Of course, in space, it's even harder, more difficult because it's floating and moving while they're trying to put it on, right? So they have to help each other. And so they unpack all of the equipment, and the equipment is color-coded, so they know whose equipment is what. Everything is sized, it has sizes but the helmets. The helmets are just one size. So if you got a big old head, you couldn't have been an astronaut, right? Because there's just one size.
And that's interesting because that was going to be my question. I was going to say, with all of the intricate details of the suit, once they were there out of the suit and it had to be resuited to re-enter, if they assisted one another with their suits. Okay, so
exactly. So the commander, for instance, all his stuff was color-coded red. Even their food, everything is color-coded. So they know what belongs to who.
Gotcha.
And so they have this big brown bag, like a big brown flimsy duffel bag that they would put all their equipment in, and they would have that color code on it as well. Gotcha. So they have, like, I think May was May green? I think she was green, if I remember right. So all of her equipment. Of course, her suit had her name tag on it.
Gotcha.
But her helmet had a alpha code with the color that she was assigned. Her boots had the alpha code with the color assigned. And
so there's a lot of details.
Yes. So they knew their stuff. So don't try to put on my stuff,
Gotcha.
So, and they had a restroom up there, it was a vacuum system. So they didn't have to wear the diapers while they were floating around and working in space. Only when they had the suit on. And so they do their tour up there and it's time to come back home. They help each other suit up, put everything back on. They help each other strap in and they're heading home. And when they land, they usually land at Edwards Air Force Base in California, out there with you.
Yes.
That's our main spot is where they landed. Sometimes they have to do backup landings at other places. I've had one land in Florida actually before. It depends on weather and other things,
And and what's that called in Florida?
Edwards Air Force Base.
In Florida, it's Edwards also?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you said California, where they landed. That is Kennedy Space Center.
Kennedy Space Center, okay.
And you got Johnson Space Center in Houston.
Okay,
yes. And so
there's some fun facts for the audience,
Yes. And so, and my department was Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment, CEE for short.
Gotcha.
Okay, and so they landed, right? They land, I think it's like, say, missions are usually like 10 days, 10 to 14 days, somewhere in that area. And so they land, and usually people get off, they're all like, some are throwing up, some are, real wobbly, we have to help them strap their arm around us and walk them to their seat. And we have the crew transport.
The change of climates, the change of just atmospheres is pretty harsh on the body.
And they've been in space with no gravity for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So your muscle mass and everything is different. Even though they have treadmills and things on the shuttle, it's not the same as being on Earth exercising. Okay. So your body's going to compress when it comes back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
So your body's going through, your body's going, some of them grow an inch or two while they're up there because they're stretched out. There's no gravity pushing them down.
Wow.
But when they get back, it's
going back. Normal. You got to give those inches back.
Yep. Yeah.
You didn't earn them. Didn't have to. You got to give them back. Got you. Okay, so she's back.
So they land, and we're in the crew, in the The CTV. I'm trying to remember the acronyms. It's been so long. The Crew Transport Vehicle. And what it is, it's like a suit room on wheels, pretty much. So we got the lounge chairs in there for them. You got a little room with a curtain for the medical section in case somebody has to go back there and do some kind of, you know, whatever. They got the flight medical doctor on there just in case it's needed or she's needed. And it hooks right up to the shuttle. So it's like a elevator. It goes up to the shuttle door. It raises up, goes up to the shuttle door. And it's not as high, of course, now because it's in airplane mode. It's horizontal now. So it's like an airplane now when it landed. And it goes up to the door, and the guys set a sign go in and unstrap them. And then they come off one by one. Everybody's kind of like, you know, creeping along and, you know, needing you to hold them. And we have a wheelchair there if necessary, if somebody needs, you know, that bad off. I'm waiting for my girl to get off, you know, like a little kid at the bus stop.
Right.
Oh, man. You know, that girl walked off like she was in the mall. Then the face walked off like, hey! I was like, and everybody else all peeking and bending over and some of them throwing up in the bag. And she walked off like she ain't even been in space.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's the first time I ever seen anybody do that. And I've seen quite a few.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, she a bad mama jamma. That's all I thought. She walked off like it wasn't that. I helped her take her suit off, and we just chatting like she ain't even been to space. Just talking. I promise I don't think it affected her at all.
So she was excited. She was excited about her voyage.
And then she was like, I'm doing one, I'm out.
Gotcha.
I made history by y'all.
That's it, huh? So, you know, that's interesting. You said you saw many, because I want to shift gears before we end the interview. So you said you did many. So how, after this was your opportunity, you're making history here. First Black woman to suit another Black woman who's first time going outer space. So how long did you stay in this career field? After?
I was there for 22 years.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you, I started off at the bottom. Now I was here, you know.
Started at the bottom.
Okay. There you go. And so within, I want to say it was in 94, I was promoted to crew chief. So that meant I had a team under me making sure the astronauts got suited up right. First Black person, first woman, period.
Okay.
So I had on my first two, not just, you know, May having her first. I was like, I got my first two.
Gotcha. No, that's right.
And then a little later on, I led the first and only all-female suit tech crew. We never had enough women in our department to have a crew. And we had one time, we had enough girls in the department, and I led that crew. So we had the first, and that was on STS-78. First time we had an all-girl suit tech crew.
Okay.
So we never had an all-girl astronaut crew, unfortunately.
Okay.
So then you go on, manager position came open. And I'm thinking, I didn't go to college, and you know, and that was one of the requirements was you had to have a degree and all that. I think it was 22 people interviewed. Yes, who got it.
Okay. But you know, I think that, you know, we've told your story, you know, pretty much from, you know, the genesis of your life, you know, up until this point where you're, you know, soon going to be ending your career with you know, suiting aircraft or whatever. Right. So, but what's so inspirational about it is you didn't have a degree. That's what makes it so, because there are a lot of career choices out here that we can get involved in. And I think that what this speaks to is your drive, your determination, your willing to continue to learn, your willingness to approach whatever you were doing with excellence, so that a degree didn't matter. You know, I think that says a lot, you know, to people who may feel that, you know, I don't know if college is for me, or who may have felt like, and we know that you can go back at any time, but who may have felt like I kind of missed that window. But it's like, if you apply just some hard work and some determination, there will be opportunities there for you, because you pretty much started, you're writing your own ticket at this point. You have this experience starting with the Air Force, leading up into now you're working with NASA. This is just amazing.
Exactly. And I was just as surprised because, like you say, you know, you're so, it's feeding to you so much that if you don't have a degree, you can't be successful, and And I tell
And
people,
what
no,
I would say is what you did took a level of intelligence because you're actually operating in a field of science, but it still, I think, speaks to our intelligence and our ability as a people
yes,
to adapt. If we are given the proper training, we don't necessarily need all of those things in order to excel. Not that I'm encouraging people to not go to medical school if you're planning to be a doctor. I'm not saying that, but we are still a very we're just a group of intelligent people. Yes, resilient, intelligent, brilliant people that if we only believed in ourselves and applied ourselves, we could have these sort of success stories, even minus, saying that we went to college, because you had a beautiful story.
Yes, and you have to think that you are the best, even though you're in a room full of people that don't look like you.
Right.
I had to shine a little harder. You know how your parents always told you, you got to work double hard, twice as hard to get just the regular recognition. And it's true, because when I got there, I wasn't treated bad at all. I don't think my color ever came into play at all while I was at NASA. Okay. And I know a lot of women said they had that issue, but I never did. I can tell you, I was treated fairly the whole time. When I became crew chief, where I was over a team, my supervisor, he demoted somebody. I had been performing crew chief duties even as a regular technician.
Okay.
He demoted a person that was in crew chief position because they weren't doing the job, and he promoted me the very next day.
Oh, wow.
So it lets you know that if you keep doing, you don't know who's watching.
Yes.
And the way our lab was set up, Rashida, it was like a big old window, like a fishbowl. So because they'd have tours come through and look at the suits and all this.
Gotcha.
I always sat at that table right by the window. So any supervisor, anybody walk by would always see Sharon working. Gotcha. She's always working. You got to put yourself in those places, little things like that, positioning yourself. Because I don't know why I always thought, I think I went back to the Cinderella at home, having to do everything, that if I keep doing good and they see that I love my job and everything, that they'll keep me, they'll appreciate me. I got recognition, I got raises, promotions. So those things came, but still in the back of my mind, I was wishing I had gone to college, but I wanted people, especially the young children, our little brown babies, to know that that's not an end all. Right. It's not an end all at all. And there's so many other careers at NASA besides being an astronaut. Nobody ever heard of suit tech.
Right.
What's a suit tech?
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing that I love, and I want to say this about our men and women who serve in the military, they develop and get training in so many different areas that we as civilians aren't privy to, couldn't even imagine what's going on. But I think that those skills are so necessary, and it doesn't have to end there. So as we work to build the Black community, and I know that there's some momentum going on, and right now we're trying to lay the foundation, in terms of like building more Black communities, stronger Black communities, where we're starting Black businesses, and we're supporting those businesses, and that's the financial infrastructure. So it's the ground, we're laying the foundation and the groundwork for that. But then once we do that, we can start to build on it, because who said that as a community we don't want to go to outer space? Who says community we don't want to, we may not want to have to, we see SpaceX here, an independent company who has started, and they're taking voyages out, in outer space. Who's to say that we don't want to do that as a people, and go out and do research and explore and see what some of the advancements are in space, or how we can use some of those things to help better life here on Earth. And I think that when we get into some of those careers and when we join the military, I think that it gives us those resources and skills that we can now bring back to our community that will further us. So yes, for those that, who are in the military, I just think that it would be great if we start having conversations around that. Because when I have the opportunity to be, and I'm not necessarily trying to steer people towards the military. It's like, it's your choice.
It's a great experience.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you so happen to, we should start thinking about, okay, how can we best, what skill set does these individuals have that will now be a benefit to our community? How can we use what the knowledge that they have gained, the experience that they have gained, to now be to our betterment for just in our civilian lives, and just helping to build and strengthen the Black community.
Yes, and they have so much help in that area now too, with helping the military folks transfer over into the civilian life. They have so much more help than when I was, because I was there in 1982 to 1990.
So they just abandoned you.
Yeah, I was like, nobody told you to get out early.
So
it was amazing. It was amazing.
So
and I ended up being the manager of the department. I forgot that. I ended up becoming the manager and closed out the space shuttle program. The only reason I'm not there anymore is because it ended. Space shuttle program ended. And I was strictly on the space shuttle side with where they wore these suits.
And then we see the suits behind you. We see a picture of a Black woman, and I just have to assume that that's you.
That's me. Working. Look at me working right there, girl. I'm working
hard at work.
And this is like a baby astronaut right here.
Gotcha. Well, that is our time. And I just want to thank you so much for just coming on and sharing your story. It's so inspirational. And I hope that it inspires others who just may be struggling, that young men and women who are coming up, to just know that there are endless possibilities as to how they can approach their lives from a career perspective. So thank you so much, Sharon, for joining.
Thank you.
Yes, and to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I want you to like and share this video so that we can spread the word of just this brilliant woman who have done amazing things, and she has documented it here. But we thank you for tuning in with us. And we want you, if you have something intelligent or something brilliant you would like to say, we invite you to go to intellectualchocolate.com and sign up. Go ahead and sign up and send an application requesting to be on the show, and we would love to share your story with our audience. Again, I'm Intellectual Chocolate host Rashida. It's been great to be with you. If you want to share me on my, if you want to follow me on my other platforms and see some of the other interviews that I do, I just encourage you to go to my website. That's the easiest way to find me. You can find everything there at ltaishow.com. It's been great, and we are out.